Good morning, all, and Jai Sadgurudeo. Welcome to the weekly Sunday Satsang organized by North America Institute of Vihangam Yoga. My name is Monica, and I have joined this Satsang from River Edge, New Jersey. Before we begin this session, let us bow down and offer our prayers to the holy feet of Lord Sadgurudeo. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. In the current times, our day-to-day life gets consumed in fulfilling our physical and mental requirements and social responsibilities. In this fast-paced routine life, the requirements of the soul are often forgotten. So I congratulate each one of you for taking some time from your busy schedule to join the session to fulfill the requirements of the soul. It is with Sadgurudev's blessings that we are here today in this satsang to dive into the wisdom of Swarved. Our speaker for today is Vijayji, who is a very sincere disciple of Sadguru. He is very knowledgeable and has years of experience in this journey. Vijayji continues to inspire us in this journey, and I must say that he is very fortunate to be from a family that has been under Sadgurudeo's guidance for generations. Vijayji is the president of our organization, North America Institute of Vihangam Yoga. So for not wasting any more time and no further ado, I would like to request Vijayji to come and take the stage for today's Swarved Dohas.
Thank you,
So
Monica ji.
Vijayji, over to you.
Thank you, Monica ji, and Jai Sadgurudeo, everyone. बार बार वंदन करूं सद्गुरुदेव हमार यहाँ वहाँ सब ठाम में महिमा अपरंपार शरण शरण में शरण हूँ हे गुरु बंदी छोर मोहि उबारो हे गुरु यह सौ बार निहोर आगे द्वारा बंद है भक्ति भेद बहु भेद बिन सद्गुरु की भक्ति के प्रभु की भक्ति न वेद आरत दीन अधीनता सत्य अहिंसा भाव उपयोगी यह भक्ति के सदगुरु चरण समाव। बोले सदगुरुदेव की जय। Welcome everyone to this auspicious moment of Satsang with Swarved. The term Swarved itself is so enlightening because when you try to understand the word Swarved, you will get motivated to think, contemplate, and put an effort towards something which is not worldly in nature. It is about Swa, meaning the self. Swarved is composed of two words, Swa plus Ved. Swa means self, Ved means knowledge. So Swarved is a journey towards realizing the self. Swa also means the supreme Brahm. So Swarved also is a journey to realize the Almighty. As you see on the screen, Swarved Doha Mandal 2 and Chapter 2, Swarved Doha number 24. Swarved is actually composed of 6 mandal, and out of all these, if you count number of dohas that Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj has written, the photo of Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj you see on the right hand side in the slide. Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj wrote about 4,000 dohas if you count all the mandals, all the chapters, all dohas. About 4,000 dohas. 3,737 dohas were just in 5 mandals, and then 6 mandals are addendum, which was added, compiled and added later, and in total it reaches close to 4,000 dohas. These doha were not written, these dohas were not written by looking at any other books, but these dohas were written as a pure expression of the pure experience. These doha just is the expression of the experience in the samadhi state. When Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj attained his complete wisdom, when he attained the completeness within himself with the advent of the devotion, the complete Chetan devotion, the conscious devotion, in which all the wisdoms are pouring onto the soul, and the soul becomes all knowing in the state of being omniscient. Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj started expressing what was pouring into his soul, and it took the shape of Swarved. So Swarved is the expression straight from the heart of Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj. And that's why Swamiji says, Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj says in his own word, कि Swarved मेरे हृदय की चिंता मणि है. The Swarved has come straight from his heart, and it is the most cherished pearl of his heart. That's why he said Chinta Mani. money, the diamond, indicates the most cherished thing. So symbolically, Sadguru Sadafaldev Maharaj says, Swarved is my most cherished thing that I have gifted to the world. Sadguru Sadafaldev Maharaj was not scholar by study, but he was a fakir, a yogi who experienced Brahma Vidya through his 17 years of continuous meditation practice. His 17 years of seeking resulted into attaining this rare wisdom of Brahma Vidya straight from the Nitya and Adi Sadgurudeo, the eternal master, who is the carrier of this knowledge for all the era, for all the yugas. Sadguru Sadafaldevji Maharaj received this Brahma Vidya process and eventually the experience of all the entities through this technique, all because Eternal Master was pleased with his seeking and with his vairagya. Eternal Master tested his vairagya first before giving the bhakti to him, before giving or gifting him the bhakti of Almighty. The Eternal Master tested him first. Eternal Master told him, ask me for anything from the world. At this point, I can grant you anything you want and it will happen. Just at my wish, it will become possible for you. And Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj, then he was not Sadguru, he was the yogi, Maharshi Sadafal Devji, or a seeker rather, not even then a yogi, not even then a Maharshi, but in this form he was just a seeker, and the seeker of topmost virtues, having no worldly desire, zero worldly desire, zero, shunya, absolutely no worldly desire. And only when Eternal Master ensured that he has truly shunya, zero worldly desire, then Eternal Master gifted him this wisdom. So he tested him that ask me for any worldly thing. And Sadafal Devji Maharaj said, what will I do with these worldly fame or wealth when this is not enough to make me feel complete or to quench my thirst? My thirst is more than these. And O Divine Master, I am helpless. Only you can please help me in making me complete, making me experience the supreme bliss of Almighty. That alone I seek. So the Eternal Master was convinced, and then he gifted Sadafal Devji Maharaj the Chetan Yoga. योग योग सब कोई कहे योग न जाना कोई. Many people talk about yoga and they believe that, oh, there is a bhakti yoga, there is a karma yoga, there is a Raj yoga. People think that, oh, these all are just different paths of yoga, different types of yoga. People are just lost into these terminologies, different aspect of yoga, but nobody knows the yoga in which the union of soul happens with the Supreme Being. Because that yoga is Chetan Yoga. And that Chetan Yoga happens only with the blessings of the Eternal Master. And that Eternal Master eventually gifted that technique to Sadguru Sadafaldevji Maharaj and asked him to isolate from the world, go in a cave and practice it sincerely for one Guha Anushtan of 6 months, meaning it's a 6 month of isolation from the entire world where you do not interact with anybody. And for 6 months, he internalized this technique and experienced all the conscious elements which exist beyond this Prakriti. Sadguru Sadafal Deji Maharaj completed the entire Chetan Sadhan in those 6 months, starting from self-realization to the experience of Akshar Brahm, to the experience of the Eternal Master, and eventually experiencing the Almighty. The entire Chetan Sadhan, where one happens to experience the existence of the powers which are working behind this creation. That Chetan Sadhan is what is also known as Vihangam Yoga. So what we are going to hear about is Vihangam Yoga, which is not a new type of yoga. When we say bhakti, probably we formally did not yet hear it, but bhakti and Vihangam Yoga has no difference at all. Bhakti and Vihangam Yoga are just a synonym, just a synonym. So coming to this doha, before we talk further on this, Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj wrote in this Swarved 2.2.24, which as we have been following ritualistically here in Satsang, one of you please with wholeheartedly chant this doha and read about it, and then we will start diving deep into it. So I request one volunteer to please read it with the devotion in your heart. Anybody can volunteer, please.
Okay, Sadgurudeo, I will read it.
Yeah, thanks.
सच्चा प्रभु का भक्त है, केवल प्रेम प्रवाह, भिन्न चिंतित नहीं भक्त है, भक्त नहीं कुछ चाह। भाष्य: जो शरीर, मन, वाणी एवं आत्मा से शुद्ध है, वही प्रभु का सच्चा भक्त है एवं उसी में शुद्ध रूप से प्रभु के प्रति प्रेम प्रवाह बहता है। प्रभु से भिन्न दूसरे पदार्थ की चिंता नहीं है, न उसे किसी दूसरे वस्तु की इच्छा है। यही सच्चे भक्त का पवित्र स्वरूप है। जय सद्गुरु।
Yeah, thank you, Shrangji. सच्चा प्रभु का भक्त है, केवल प्रेम प्रवाह. Sacha means true, Prabhu means almighty, Bhakt means the devotee. Who is the true devotee of the Almighty? Keval Prema Pravah, the one who has the 100% love for the Almighty, the one who has no place in the heart left for anything else, because the entire heart is filled with just one love, and that is the love of Almighty. That devotee is the true devotee of Almighty. सच्चा प्रभु का भक्त है, केवल प्रेम प्रवाह, भिन्न चिंतित नहीं भक्त है. He does not have desire of anything else. The devotee, he or she, has no desire for anything else. Bhakt nahi kuch cha. He doesn't wish for anything else. This is what is the purest state of a true devotee. Bhakt nahi kuch cha. Bhakt does not demand, does not ask, does not desire for anything else. Sacha Prabhu ka bhakt hai, keval prema pravah. So as it says that the true devotee is not one who forces himself or herself to develop this state of devotion. The true devotee is the one who is already pure from inside. जो शरीर मन वाणी और आत्मा से शुद्ध है, the one who is pure at the level of body, mind, speech, and at the level of soul, the one who is pure from inside outside, automatically the love for the Almighty flows in the heart. The only reason we are untouched by that divine love is because we have layers of impurities of the Prakriti. When these layers are removed, automatically the love for Almighty awakens. It happens automatically. And that is why a true devotee is a natural devotee, is not one who forces himself or herself to become a devotee for Almighty. So we have to become the true devotee of Almighty if we concentrate on becoming a devotee, then we are away from being a devotee. We cannot become devotee. What we can only do is we can only purify ourselves. For attaining the state of a true devotee, only when we become eligible for that devotion, this devotion has to be gifted to us. You cannot become a devotee yourself. Rather, we are transformed to the level of a purest devotee. So we need transformation. We don't need to force ourselves to become one. Rather, we are transformed to a state of a pure devotee. And this is where we can understand that all our effort is in attaining the purity. And that's why Sadgurudeo says, जो शरीर मन वाणी एवं आत्मा से शुद्ध है, वही प्रभु का सच्चा भक्त है. He did not say that वही प्रभु का सच्चा भक्त बन जाता है. He did not say that. only Satya, only truth, and only purity will automatically attain another purity or unite with another purity. Only Satya Atma can experience the Satya Swarup Paramatma. So first, we will have to attain the transparency, the purity, the truthfulness, right from heart to speech. Meaning what we think inside is what you act outside. Only when we attain that truthfulness in our karma, in our thinking, in our bhava, the kind of bhav we have from inside, the wishfulness, the desires that we carry inside, if everything is aligned, transparent, that is what is the symbol of truthfulness. Swamiji says in his Vani that Satya Acharan, Sadachar is the only process of spiritual upliftment. Only when our act, our behavior, our act aligns with what we have in our heart. And what we have in our heart, when aligns with the truthfulness, the righteousness, it is only then there is a chance of spiritual upliftment. Otherwise, we will stay where we are. So as this Doha says, that the true love for the Almighty blossoms in the heart automatically when one becomes pure at the level of body, mind, speech, as well as soul. But what is the process of attaining that purity at all levels? We had very beautiful discussion yesterday in Hindi Satsang. I'm sure majority of you were part of it. And there were discussion around how to attain this level of devotion, how to become pure at this level that the devotion blossoms inside our heart automatically. And a great devotee, Yogesh ji, very beautifully put forth what is stopping us. What is stopping us from having that devotion in our heart? And as he explained from Swarved, that it is the raga, the malinata of our mind. When our mind is yet having attractions towards the worldly subjects, towards the worldly bhoga, that is the bottleneck for, against having the devotion for the Almighty. Because our Atma is one that has two different dimensions of bhogya padarth. Bhogya padarth means the one that the soul experiences for the happiness. For the happiness, in pursuit of happiness, the soul has two opposite dimensions. Either it can go towards the worldly subjects, or it will go towards the eternal happiness. Either it can go and engage itself with the ever changing, temporary, and limited happiness, which comes only in installments, and then it vanishes and creates the experience of sorrow. It flips. So either it can engage with the flipping happiness, where the happiness flips into sorrow. And this is what is called the worldly happiness. The soul has two bhogya padarth, either this temporary, ever-changing, flipping happiness, or it can engage with the eternal happiness, the Paramatma, the bliss, the Satchidanand. Atma, the soul, has these two bhogya padarth, and it can engage only with one thing for the experience of happiness. As long as it is engaged and attracted and looking forward towards worldly subject for the experience of happiness, it will remain deprived of the other dimension of happiness, which is the true dimension of happiness, because it cannot coexist for the experience of happiness in both dimension. It cannot coexist for the experience of happiness in two dimensions. The soul can either derive happiness from Paramatma, or it will remain baffled and illusioned with the temporary happiness of the worldly subject. And that is why it is said that who can experience or attain the state of complete devotion? The one who first accepts this from the heart, that the world can only offer me illusions, but not the true happiness. The worldly subjects can only offer me illusion, only Maya. It only eludes us. It only misguides us for happiness. But it cannot offer us the everlasting happiness. When this very knowledge, when this very wisdom is truthfully accepted in the heart and enacted in karma and thoughts transparently, it is only then we become eligible for the true bhakti. Otherwise, we have this knowledge. We have this knowledge that yes, the world is temporary. The happiness that we get from the world is very limited, and that too short timed. We don't get everlasting happiness from happiness from anything in this world. This is the fact. And through our intellect, we know this tattva gyan, that the prakriti can only offer me the limited happiness. But just knowing it through our intellect does not reflect in our sadachar, in our behavior. It is because that satya acharan has not happened in ourselves. We have only known it in our intellect, but we are not ready for it. We are not accepting this from our heart. It is not reflecting in our behavior. It's not reflecting in our aspirations. We don't aspire for the everlasting happiness, the devotion of Almighty. So till we become a Purna Vairagi, the bhakti is always away from us. And that is why bhakti has two, before bhakti, there are two things which are very important to have. And then only you can expect bhakti to happen within ourselves. And that is Gyan and Vairagya. Gyan and Vairagya. Without Gyan and Vairagya, bhakti cannot be imagined. What we think is bhakti in our ritualistic way of offering our devotion, what we think is bhakti is either the Agyan Yukta Bhakti or it is Vikarma. It is either Vikarma if it is Gyan Yukt effort of elevating ourselves, it is Vikarma. Or if Agyan Yukt, where the Gyan is also not there, there are devotees who are in such a state of ignorance that they do not even realize that the path that they have chosen is the path of karma alone. Because they are so ignorant, they do not even differentiate between karma and bhakti. They do not even differentiate between karma and bhakti. People want to actually spend time with the Almighty, but they do not have knowledge about Almighty. They do not know how a soul can elevate itself to the level of Almighty. They have no knowledge. And this is why it is important that before we talk about bhakti, we should talk about Gyan and Vairagya. Without Gyan and without Vairagya, bhakti does not germinate within our heart. Bhakti doesn't happen. Bhakti is a purest state of enlightenment with Almighty's bliss. When our soul is enlightened with the bliss of Almighty, the bhakti, the light of bhakti is all around the soul. The soul is in the ecstasy of bhakti, in the bliss of bhakti, automatically, because that light blossoms in the heart automatically when it attains that level of purity within itself. So to have the knowledge, the gyan, and to have vairagya within ourselves, what is the step forward? Can vairagya happen without knowledge? Can vairagya happen without knowledge? It cannot. And that is why gyan is first. It is through gyan, when we accept or when we learn about this, when we get the Vahya Tattva Gyan, through Vahya Tattva Gyan, just like you shower your body is purified with the water, right? What purifies our soul and what purifies our intellect? It is the Gyan. The Gyan is the way to shower our intellect. Our antahkaran is purified with the knowledge, with the light of knowledge. So knowledge is first. Only when we attain the knowledge, then slowly the vairagya starts developing within ourselves. If you have no knowledge, vairagya will not happen on its own. Knowledge happens either by satsang or by the blessings of Sadgurudeo or by the experience in the life. Through the experience in the life also knowledge happens. But only when you are willing to willing to notice things and accept this and not be eluded by the mind. Mind will always develop the craving within yourself for the worldly subject. But if and only if we introspect that for all these years I have been chasing the same worldly happiness, but it has never stayed with me. I am still back to square zero. Are we ready to accept this? If we are not, that means through our life experience, we are not getting the knowledge. We are still not getting the knowledge. But only when we attain this knowledge, we accept this knowledge at the level of soul and reflect it in our thought and action, it is only then we are leading a life with sadachar. Sadachar. Sadachar meaning the one what you think inside, what you know from inside, you behave according to that. That is called sadachar. Only when we lead our life with sadachar, there is a chance of spiritual promotion. So what you learn from life, that yes, so far I have been going after so many different kind of worldly pleasures, but it has not lasted long with me. When we know it, are you accepting it? If you are accepting it, then only automatically the vairagya will develop within yourself. Only when we accept it, vairagya will develop. And that is why knowledge is the first ladder. And the second ladder to bhakti is vairagya. Knowledge is the first step of the ladder. And the second step of the ladder of devotion is vairagya. Knowledge comes first, then vairagya develops. Vairagya also you cannot force yourself. Vairagya is not something that you can force yourself, but only when you accept with sadachar the awareness, the knowledge about what is temporary and what is permanent. When this knowledge stays permanently in your heart, the vairagya will automatically happen. And that's why Swamiji says that if one hears about vairagya and start enacting vairagya, forcing themselves to stay away from the worldly subjects, thinking that, oh, I have to become vairagi, this will only bother the soul and make the soul more restless. The vairagya has to be developed. It will happen within yourself only when we engage more with the wisdom, with the knowledge. And so to vairag to happen, we will have to become vikarmanist. Vikarmanist. Only when you start engaging yourself, when your sadachar is in that path, meaning your thinking, not only your thinking, not only knowing things, but also your action. When your action, your thought, your knowledge, when all aligns, when your life is in the path of Vikarm, it is only then the vairagya will happen automatically. So it is important that when we talk about bhakti, we must also know about vikarma. Vikarma is the only way through which you loosen the grip of bondages, where your mind will start loosening the raga with the subject. Only through vikarma, only through vikarma, you can loosen the grip of raga within yourself. When you become vikarmanist, vikarma, who can engage in vikarma? Who wants to lead the life with sadachar? Meaning what you hear from Swarved, what you hear from Satsang, now you want to lead the life in that direction. So whatever effort you then put in aligning with what you are hearing from Satsang, that entire effort is called Vikarma. Vikarma is all those actions where you loosen the grip with Prakriti, where you are putting an effort to become eligible for the devotion, for the bhakti, for the experience of Almighty. All those efforts like Sham, Dam, Titiksha, all these that you start developing within yourself by the practice of seva, sadhana, satsang. It is that effort, the effort of vikarm, is what will naturally develop the attribute of vairagya within your heart. So vairagya also cannot be forced. You cannot force yourself into vairagya. Vairagya naturally develops when the gyan starts reflecting in our action. When the gyan, the knowledge that you have accepted, it starts reflecting in our action. It is only then the vairagya will happen. And that is why Sadgurudeo said that if we have to attain, if we have to attain the state of purest devotee, then we have to make the seva, sadhana, and satsang as the essence of our life. Teen sara sansar. Sadguru said that, your essence of life should be seva, sadhana, satsang. You should always aspire for seva, for sadhana, and for satsang. Everything else that you do in your worldly life should be used as a means to perform seva, sadhana, and satsang. For example, if we are doing our service, running our companies, that is because we want to not only support our family with artha, but if we run a company, then we also want to create platform for other lives, other people to earn some artha for their living. So if we have chosen our company as a means to be a helping hand for others, this is very good seva bhav. This is also very good seva bhav. So if you run your company with seva bhav. Not only you grow with artha, but allow others to grow also with artha. If you have this very feeling within yourself, then this is a very good attribute to have. When we work for a company, we are trying to give our best so that not only company grows, you also grow. Your artha is ensured so that you can stay focused in the upliftment in the path of devotion as well. If your artha is disturbed, your vehicle of life is actually handicapped. Artha is the means to run your life. So you have to ensure that the artha continues to flow in your life. Only when the artha is stable, when the artha agaman, the advent of earth is ensured, then only you can restfully concentrate on the spiritual upliftment as well. So your everything else in your life is the means to ensure that the essence of life is maintained, that I stay engaged in seva, in sadhana and satsang without any hurdles in my life. Only to remove all the hurdles, you do everything else. You take care of your family. Why? Because so that I remain in peace and engage more in seva, sadhana and satsang. If there is disbalance anywhere else, it is only going to disturb our path of devotion. So when you have this very essence very clear in our head and we have sincere commitment towards it, you will see that not only your path of devotion goes smooth, but the divine forces will also help in our worldly activities. The one who aspire for divine bliss, the blessings from the Master and the mercy of Almighty is such that our worldly life also start taking a smooth shape. It will happen only if we start leading a life with sadachar. There is no convoluted feeling within ourselves. We think something else and you actually are somebody else and you act something else. There's no resemblance in our action, in our thought, in our character. If there's no resemblance, that means we are not leading a sadachar life. So sacha Prabhu ka bhakt hai keval prema pravah. To attain this state where the purest love of Almighty start flowing within our heart, this will happen only when the vairagya will happen 100%. And for vairagya to happen 100%, it is important that we lead our life with sadachar. I conclude my contemplation on this here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vijayji, for explaining to us today's dohas. It was very beautifully deep dived into lots of pointers in the path of a seeker or a devotee. And actually, while I was making some notes, I just wanted to share my thoughts on this particular, such an important doha that is merely not just a few words being narrated so beautifully by Sadafal Devji Maharaj. However, the depth that goes into the doha, where we are just trying to learn how to become that pure devotee. I wanted to summarize a few points. Definitely, yesterday's satsang is still afresh in my mind. The way Yogesh ji had led the yesterday's satsang, and most of us were a part of that. I wanted to just mention that even Yogesh ji mentioned how a true vairagya happens. The gyan and the vairagya, the two components that help us get into the mode of true bhakti or devotion for the Lord. Yogesh ji had mentioned about coming over all the ragas, the different worldly manifestations that we often see ourselves entangled with. and how beautifully explaining how we come over all of that and be in the state of natural vairagya. Again, using that same pointer Vijayji mentioned today about how the bhakti happens and the fundamentals that each one of us should 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 help each of the fundamentals that we all should uh, work towards and work towards to imbibe in our fundamental nature to become a natural devotee of Sadgurudeo as well as in the eyes of Paramatma. Vijayji mentioned that for attaining the state of a true devotee, we have to purify ourselves. And in order to purify ourselves, sadachar is the only process of spiritual upliftment. Truthfulness and righteousness is required, which I believe each one of us know deep within their hearts how true those virtues are, even to run our day to day life. We cannot be untruthful or unrighteous, even while we are in our day to day working of our mundane life. Vijayji also mentioned how to attain this level of devotion where the raga of the mind is not running towards the worldly desires. One who has the true knowledge that everything has given only a momentarily happiness. The worldly subjects can only offer us illusions, maya, and then once we know that clearly, we become a true devotee of Paramatma. It has to reflect in our behaviors and aspirations, which I also completely agree with, and no doubts on that. That which is very important till we seek the path of a pure vairagi. Um, while Vijayji was mentioning about Gyan and Vairagya, I had these thoughts in my mind which I wanted to just put forward, that in life we go through different stages of life, and sometimes we are blessed and fortunate to come from a family where we are always having experiences, or uh, those knowledge is given to us as is. However, for some, we have the knowledge, and we are still on that path where our experiences play a more important role than mere knowledge. I just wanted to bring up this point that in our so called life, sometimes we come into experiences that helps us in disguise to form layers and layers of appearing and disappearing instances of both Gyan and Vairagya. These two components, although are just not mere words, but when we deep dive into those and we try to break down into a cellular level, we understand that how a Vairagya can truly happen to my soul. And that particular knowledge of ours is just ours because we gain that understanding from wherever we are at that point in life. I feel that this is very important for us to speculate on every day what is more important for me to reach that level of vairagya while maintaining the same position or the stature in my day to day life, which is again very crucial and vital for the growth of my soul. I also believe that this is a process that gets us to reach at a certain level, but with time. And one needs to be very patient with time. Sometimes the situations may differ, but having that utmost faith and devotion in the Master and God will eventually help one to reach that level someday. This is also important to know that nothing stays with us permanently, and this is again embedded in us while we go through the different experiences of life. Vairagya with sadachar, then vairagya automatically happens. That is also very, very true. While I also believe that the sadachar happens naturally. When we deal with the worldly subjects, there should be a feeling of oneness, a feeling of truthfulness, a feeling of righteousness, a feeling of respect, and a feeling of giving. And when we have those qualities, then naturally sadachar happens. Vikarma will naturally develop. I believe that is right as well. Because when we are on the path of seeking the true Gyan and Vairagya, one day all our actions will naturally turn into Vikarma. A sense of life is maintained by Seva, Sadhana, and Satsang, which has been always given importance on the three pillars of Vihangam Yoga as we all know it. Each and every day, how we can imbibe more the qualities of Seva, the qualities of Sadhana, and the qualities of Satsang. In its very essence, it's very useful for the upliftment of the soul and to continue in the journey of um, spirituality, or per se Vihangam Yoga. And with that, all my thoughts end here. And I thanks Vijayji and Yogeshji yesterday for having this beautiful conversation on these two dohas. We have now reached the last phase of today's workshop. In this phase, we chant the short version of Vandana, Aarti, and Shanti Path. Vandana is the prayer through which we seek blessings of the Sadguru. We request well-being of health, wealth, and seek his blessings for spiritual knowledge. I would now request Devji to sing the last few lines of Vandana. Over to you, Devji.
Vandana. Prabhu Kalpa Santa Samaja Uttama Sarvadharma Acharya Hai Jimi Nadia Sariti Sindhu Ki Hai Vishwa Pathamaya Karya Hai Prabhu Sata Santa Samaja Tira Aparaksha Kijiye Jana Sadafala Jana Bhakti Pridi Dina Dina Kijiye. Thank you.
Thank you, Devji. Our next prayer is Aarti. Aarti is a prayer offered to the Sadguru. Here we acknowledge the power of Almighty and pray that all disciples experience eternal joy, love, and freedom from worries under His holy guidance. I request everybody to stand up for the Aarti, and I request Devji to sing the last few lines of Aarti for us. Over to you, Devji.
Arti. Guru Marati Gati Kandrama Sevaka Nayana Chakur Palaka Palaka Nirakarahe Guru Marati Kior Shweta Shweta Maya Shweta He Shweta Shweta Maya Shweta Tina Pada Amriti Bara Shweta Muhammad Shweta Ashta Chakra Sabya Sunya Para Dara Adhara Kipar Tahan Sadafalagara Kia Boli Para Sansar.
Thank you, Devji. And the final prayer is Shanti Path. In the Shanti Path, we chant for peace for everyone who exists in this universe. May Sadgurudeo bless the entire cosmos with peace, love, and prosperity. I request Devji to recite the last few lines of Shanti Path for us. Thank you, Devji.
Shantipat. Hey Prabhu Shanti Sarupo Shanti Shanti Maya Shanti 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 Jana Shanti Ho Purna Shanti Maya Shanti Hey Prabhu Shanti Pradhan Kara Duraho Sarva Shanti Deva Sada Phala Shanti Maya Shanti Shanti Sukha Shanti Jai Sadgurudeo Bhagwan Ki Jai.
Thank you, Devji, for the wonderful recitation of Vandana, Aarti, and Shanti Path in such a soulful and beautiful voice. And with this, today's session concludes here. I thank each one of you for joining the session and request everyone to ponder over the dohas we discussed today. I would like to thank Vijayji, Niranjanji, Srirangji for their valuable contribution in today's satsang. The NAIVY has been conducting Sunday telephonic satsangs and Vihangam Yoga initiation workshops all over the USA and North America over the last few years. Any queries relating to this can be sent as an email to info@vihangamyoga.org. This brings us to the end of today's session. I pray to Sadgurudev to bless you with peace, prosperity, and progress. See you all next Sunday at 10:30 a.m. EST on the same Zoom meeting. Have a wonderful day and the week ahead. Jai Sadgurudev.